Hello, my name is Blade, and let's review Hell of a Summer. So, Hell of a Summer is directed by Finn Wolfhard of Stranger Things fame and Billy Burke. It was distributed by Neon. Now, interestingly, I found out this movie actually premiered way back in 2023, and I believe the rights were only purchased by Neon in 2024. So, in like film world, I guess 2 years isn't that big amount of time, but this movie kind of, has been a long time coming for Finn and Billy, so that definitely was part of my interest going into this. I also think it being made by Finn Wolfhard had me intrigued, because he's a young actor, and so is Billy Burke, and this is like their directorial debut, and that really had me interested, especially because I really had my eyes and ears open for Gen Z filmmakers. We're the new generation coming in, so it's exciting to see what our different voices are going to be and what they look like. So that had me interested. But before I get into the full review, first let me give you, let me tell you what it's about. So the synopsis of Hell of a Summer reads: Camp counselor Jason Hochberg thinks his biggest problem is feeling out of touch with his teenage coworkers. What he doesn't know is that a mysterious mass killer is lurking on the campgrounds, brutally killing off victims one by one. So, when I first watched the trailer for this movie, I was hooked. I thought, like simple like slasher in the woods. Now, normally I would say that that's like basic, but we haven't really gone something like that in a long time, and any attempts at them to like revitalize them haven't been the greatest. I think the best one I can think of in recent time is Cabin in the Woods, and then I guess also In a Violent Nature, but I kind of don't consider In a Violent Nature in that realm because that's like the whole perspective and meta thing going on there kind of makes it a different type of movie. But I so that had me interested. I was like, okay, so they're trying to go for this thing, bringing back this classic idea, but there was a lot of Gen Z humor in the trailer, and I was like, okay, like I see what we're doing here. That has me set. So yeah, that's kind of the perspective that I went into. I just wanted to explain that. I like to give you like the mind frame that I went into. So let me get first into my spoiler-free comments. So my first spoiler-free comment is acting in this film was generally good. Like no stinkers, no, everybody did what they needed to do, and a lot of them played kind of like exaggerated archetypes, and I think they all did that well. Specifically though, Billy Burke's character and acting and role was so funny. He was so consistent the whole time. I feel like his character was also written the most consistent, and it is a little over the top, but like we understand that as the audience, so I think it really worked. Do not be surprised if Sir Billy Burke works his little way into Blade's Best in Show at the end, well, at the start of next year. But overall, acting pretty great. I just think he kind of honestly like outshined everyone else just a little bit. I liked the setting, as I discussed with the trailer and going into this movie. I liked that it was, classic like camp slasher situation. Obviously, the main character's name is a reference to Jason Voorhees. I was into that. Um, they could have did more with the settings and like the tropes and whatnot, but like it was fine. That had me intrigued. I'm just gonna warn you right now. Most of the stuff I have to say about this movie is gonna be in the spoiler section. There's not a lot to say that's spoiler free, but we'll get there when we get there. So most of my criticism that I can give you before moving into the spoiler section is that I do think this movie could have been more and it could have been written a little bit more. I give it grace that it's, a first time attempt at a screenplay and a feature. I'm an aspiring young filmmaker myself. I get it. You have to get your footing. And so I don't think this movie's at all by any means like bad, but it's just fine. It's just like okay. Like I think what it suffers from is it needed more horror and it needed to be the comedy aspect of it needed to be more consistent. And when I say consistent, I don't mean that it didn't exist throughout the movie, but there's only like a really funny line littered throughout, whereas I think it would have been helpful if the characters honestly were even more exaggerated and that kind of Gen Z like tinged dialogue was present throughout. But I mean, like it's fine. Like it's just you're not like over like you're not laughing. Like you're not chuckling big time throughout the whole thing. There's a lot of lines. They're just kind of like, every once in a while you get like there was some big laughs, but most of it's just like, okay. And then same goes for the horror. I really, especially because the description says brutally picked off. Honey, there was nobody being brutally picked off. The deaths were honestly kind of mid. A couple of them happen off screen, and then the ones that we do get on screen are just like people being like stabbed. And there's also so many what's the word, like so many like implications that should have been shown, and like some after like the body being discovered that should have been shown, that I just wish like we should have seen that. I think the gore aspect, even if this wasn't like a gory movie, I think there needed to be more of that horror. Like show me the murders. Like like if you're gonna say brutally picked off, I want to see bitches get brutally picked off. So with all of that being said, allow me to get into the things I have to say that are in spoiler territory. So consider this your final warning if you don't want any direct spoilers. So I want to hop on right back on to what I was just saying about the kills. Like, let me give you an example. So our first real kill, because we find out the first two deaths are not real, they end up being the killers. Surprise. So I think the first kill is a perfect example of like we should have seen more shit like that, and we should have seen, even if we didn't see her get decapitated, we need to see her die. So this character, oh god, what's her name? Her name is Miley. Her name is Miley. She gets killed off, and when we come back to her, like when they find her body and find out that she's dead, her head is cut off. But like we don't even see her get like stabbed, no nothing. Like it's just like she screams, killer's approaching, cut to next scene, and then when we discover her body, her head is gone. It's chopped off, her head's sitting in a refrigerator. And as funny and as shocking as that is, in a movie that's like billing itself to be like brutally picked off, like I want to see at least some aspect of that. Same thing goes for there is this character who's like, they're like kind of poking fun at like white guys who think the world is like so hard on them and stuff, and he has this peanut allergy throughout that's referenced throughout the whole movie until his death, where he's like, oh my god, you never really had to struggle, like all that. It's very funny. And then when his death comes, the killer gets a knife and like dips it in um a jar of peanut butter, and that's funny. That had me like actually like actively laughing as he was like swirling it in the peanut butter jar like it. But then the camera fucking cuts. Like we need to see him get stabbed with the peanut butter knife, and even a little bit of like his reaction. We do see his reaction, but after he's already dead, we see his dead corpse like swelled up. I'm like, that should have been shown. That should not have been like an implication type of thing. That should have been shown. That would have been so funny. Like I don't know if they cut it out or like what, but that should have been shown. Next, I want to touch upon the reveal of the killers because now listen, I'm not necessarily disappointed in who the killers are, but more so in the way that we've discovered the killer. So the first two people who die, which is one girl who's like an influencer type archetype, and then this other guy who's not an influencer type, but he's like, like the popular guy kind of archetype, and he's just like blowing shit out of his ass. Like he's just an idiot, big ego guy. They are in a relationship, and we discover that they are both the killers because she wants the like fame and glory of being, like this prolific killer. Cool, whatever. I'm not mad at that. The way we discover that, though, you ask, literally just randomly, just completely randomly, like at like the start of the third act of the movie, Finn Wolfhard's character, like here's some like shuffling in a room while the rest of the group of people who are still alive are separated, right? So they're trying to find help, whatever. He opens a door, and they're just there, alive. And he's like, oh my god, you guys are like alive. And so that's funny. That part's funny. But like that's how we find out who the killers are. There's like because there's not even any like indication that it could be them either. Like it's just so like oh okay like as it was happening I was just really like oh really, and I thought like maybe something else was going on. Like nope, that's it. That's all she wrote. I was like there needed to be something more. There needed to be like signs earlier on. There maybe on a rewatch I'll think differently, but there need to be signs to that, or there needed to be something like about that. Like I was not gagged the way that I should have been gagged. Like it fell really flat. So to wrap up my review with the spoilers and all, I think one randomly good thing about this movie is at the end of the movie there is this randomly like beautiful cinematography where they're sitting on this lake at, like right before like camera cuts to like, and it's a beautiful shot. Um, but yeah, overall, I think what I have to say with Hell of a Summer is I did like it, but I did leave the movie there just a little bit like, okay, like, I know I just uploaded my Death of a Unicorn review, and in that one I was defending movies for just being fine, which I still stand by, obviously. But the issue with this one is it's just fine, but like it could have been more, and it's because it suffers from like writing problems. It's not just that like the movie is fine. But overall, I would say this movie is fine. I did like it. I wouldn't be against rewatching it. I do think it's a good first effort from Finn Wolfhard and Billy Burke. I'd be interested to see what they if they do anything else, especially if they're teamed up again. Like it's definitely a good first effort at a film. It just definitely it could have been more, it should have been more, it deserved more, even. So, yeah, those are my thoughts, comments, and opinions on Hell of a Summer. If you watched this movie and you have anything to add, feel free to drop it in the comments below. And while you're down there, maybe hit the subscribe button, maybe like. And then also, if you're interested in me and what I'm up to, I do have a performance art piece film coming out on April 25th, A Portrait of Healing, and the trailer for that is up on my channel now. So if you'd like to check that out, I would really appreciate it. And I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.